AVID is more than just the classroom, and it's more than just researching colleges. I think the biggest takeaway is just how powerful it is for an AVID class to really come together, because you can help support each other academically, and you can also help support each other personally as well. I've always loved working with students, and I have a passion for English, so it kind of worked well to where I was recommended by a professor to go and join the education program. I was lucky enough to be chosen to be an AVID elective teacher, and I just kind of fell in love with it. For the past 4 years, I've worked with the same group of students. We started as a group in the midst of online learning and this hybrid situation. Some of my students were online, some were in person, so we really started as strangers, and then as the years progressed, we really got to know each other, and we did a lot of fun activities and tried to figure out how to navigate some really hard situations that we went through as a group. Then as seniors, they formed this little family where they looked out for each other and helped support each other even after. I know that they're still trying to help each other out now after they've graduated. AVID really focuses on the relationship building. And so we had time, and being able to stay with them, I think, is what really helped build our little family that we had at the end. It was really this group of students that helped me grow as a teacher and see what my priorities are in the classroom, with helping them improve their skills and get to where they needed to go. And then really it was that relationship that we built as a class that helped overcome all of the things that have happened in the last couple of years. To be honest, I don't know if I would still be in education without AVID.
Every morning like clockwork, I would hear, "What's up, Mrs. Ditton?" as the same group of students would filter into my classroom right before the first block. As I'm checking emails and running around doing 1,000 things to get ready for the day, they would sit around a table in my room and talk about the latest tea about working at Dollar Tree, complain about physics, or argue about whether Twilight is either a good movie because it's bad or just a bad movie. They would also never fail to ask me directly what we were doing in AVID that day, or a question like, "Do I have to pay for a library card?" I'm gonna be honest, some days I was not in the mood, but most of the times it was one of my favorite parts of the day. We didn't always have this morning meeting of the minds. It started when my AVID students were juniors, but grew into a consistent routine as they moved through senior year. As an English teacher, I had students over the years that I grew closer to because they loved reading, or they just loved the string lights in my classroom. But it wasn't until I had an AVID class that I ever experienced having a true family at school, or #family, as we call it. It's difficult to describe the bond we created as a group. When they were freshmen, it was the typical battle of explaining why they needed to fill out their agendas and how tutorials can be beneficial for subjects other than math. Yeah. By the time they were seniors, I was secretly crying in the corner of my classroom after reading one student write to another, "You are strong enough to fight the battles in your mind," in an affirmation activity. It is pure magic. It wasn't an incantation of words or one particular thing that transformed this group of scrappy, opinionated, frequently scared to talk to teachers, excitable freshmen into the confident, still excitable future labor and delivery nurses, astrophysicists, and journalists in my room senior year. It was the culmination of the environment AVID provides and the shared experiences we had over the course of the 4 years. We began with the icebreakers, made tutorial family crests, learned about credit versus debit and what colleges they might want to go to. Their freshman year, I was also super pregnant with my son, feeling increasingly insecure about my own feelings about being an educator. But AVID was a bright spot in my day, something I looked forward to because of who they were as individuals. Sophomore year, we lost one of our own. The sweetest, kindest girl with mental health struggles. The last memory I have of her is in AVID. During a school-wide scavenger hunt, she was in front of this big window, sunlight streaming in, dancing in the hallway, out in the open. I had never felt such pain and disbelief, and one of the hardest things I have ever had to do was watch the rest of my AVID class hear the news from the counselors. The look on their faces as the reality of the situation sunk in was one of the worst days I have ever had in my entire life. A few months later, I was pulled out of one of my English classes to hear that another student, one who was in my seminar and a friend to many of my AVID students, suddenly died in an accident. And then later in May, their sophomore English teacher, my colleague, grew sick and passed away from cancer. 3 tragedies in one semester. How was I supposed to help them through their grief as I was experiencing my own? After a summer weighed down by sorrow, I tried to find moments of joy and weirdness to provide levity as they became juniors and seniors. I trolled my students with memes and AVID puns as they walked in on tutorial days. One day, I even transformed our room into a corporate retreat for Ditton Corp Incorporated, and we examined employee handbooks with badges and official titles and all. It became my singular goal to go above and beyond, to not only teach them the skills and strategies from AVID, but also to help them find happiness throughout the day in each other and in our class. I also noticed how they were treating each other after so much loss. I heard them advocating for each other in the hallway and in between classes. They would sometimes hone in, like little carrier pigeons, with a veracity that was almost scary, when there was even an inkling of a fellow AVID classmate feeling down or stressed. And I saw them comfort and motivate each other. They bonded over one student's mac and cheese each holiday party and joked about how I made them reflect on everything. Even when they had conflicts more serious than the Twilight debate, they worked it out amongst themselves. In the creation of our class bond, we saw academic growth too. One student that had constantly struggled throughout his entire high school career finally pulled it together, and another student admitted to me, I literally saw him learn math this semester. We literally gave him 3 rounds of applause that year. 3 of my AVID students joined the International Baccalaureate program together and chose to take the most academically challenging classes offered. Several joined the Certified Nursing Aid program and are currently working while going to school. A few graduated early to pursue college coursework, including one who's attending cosmetology school to start her business as soon as possible. Now, as my students have graduated, I realized that while I was so concerned about how I was going to support them, they were actually supporting me. In the most unexpected times, students would randomly ask a question or share something that they were feeling about everything that had happened. These conversations helped me process my own grief. We also laughed a lot, and I started to feel more optimism and hope for the future as I saw my students still reaching for their own dreams. I honestly don't think that I would still be in education today if it wasn't for all of them. Relational capacity and building relationships is important. We know this as educators. However, the magic of the AVID family is just that we build a family. It's not a step-by-step process I followed to build rapport with them or one particular wicker strategy. It is this indescribable meshing of individual personalities, a combined goal to achieve more after high school, and shared experiences that create a messy blob of joy, frustration, love, and college exploration. A scrappy group of freshmen with immense potential solidified into a group of poised, astute young people that would support one another even outside the confines of our AVID elective class time. I went from an English teacher focused on teaching paragraphs to an individual with more understanding and capacity for change. While I may have had a role through the activities I chose or the way I approached our class, it was together that we built this #AVID family, and the past 4 years with them will impact me for the rest of my life. Thank you.